Do you ever wish you had a secret map to your child's heart or mind? Today, we're uncovering the treasures hidden within their personalities. Understanding your child's unique personality isn't just a silly extra. It's actually the golden key to unlocking their emotions and behaviors. Join me as we explore the 4 personality types that shape how your child interacts with you and the world. By the end of this episode, you'll have valuable insights to foster deep connections and calm those big emotions and challenging behaviors as well. Let's get started. Welcome to Calm Connection Parenting. I'm your host, Jamie Kirkbride, mom of 7, parenting coach, professional counselor, and wrangler of big emotions. If you're raising a highly sensitive child with intense emotions or challenging behaviors and wondering if you'll make it through without losing your mind, you're not alone. Around here, we're all about real-life parenting, sprinkled with a little humor and a whole lot of patience. So grab your coffee, trust me, you'll need it, and join me as we explore tips, stories, and faith-based strategies to help you bring more calm and confidence into your chaotic days. Let's do this. I am so glad you're here today. We are diving deep into a fascinating topic, one of my favorites, your child's personality and how it influences their behavior and emotions. Now, I realize some of you may be feeling like this topic isn't really that important to you. After all, you just want some tools to help calm the big emotions or challenging behaviors that you have going on in your home. I get it. In fact, if you're a parent dealing with issues such as ADHD, anxiety, DMDD, or depression, you might even feel like this podcast would be a waste of your time or doesn't apply to your needs. But let me fill you in on a really important little secret. Understanding personalities is one of the best tools in making any changes, whether it's related to big emotions, challenging behaviors, or just dealing with a strong personality or a highly sensitive child in an effective way. In fact, clients in my coaching program start with this very same piece of the puzzle. So you might be wondering, why does knowing your child's personality really matter? Well, I believe that learning your child's personality is an important foundation to understanding who they are, how they think, what they do, and what they feel. In fact, when we understand their personality, we will know what we might typically expect of their personality style. We will know what might even be potential struggles for them and the things we may need to help them learn and grow through. We will have a better idea if there is an emotional need that isn't being met or needs to be met. And we'll have a good idea of personality-related tools that might be effective in communicating or in kind of helping them through things. And if those tools aren't working, we can even determine if the big emotions or the challenging behaviors might be beyond the personality issue. So this understanding of personalities provides us with a solid starting point and where we move next. You might even be wondering, well, where did the study of personalities ever even begin? Or is this something new? Well, it's not. In fact, the study of personalities actually dates back to the time of the Greek philosophers like Aristotle, Galen. And they thought personalities differed based on body fluids like blood, bile, and phlegm. Now, thankfully, we've moved far beyond that now. However, the titles that you will hear assigned to the personalities that we're talking about today, they date back to those that originally studied them. So when you hear melancholic, choleric, phlegmatic, and sanguine, Those are those original terms that date back clear to the beginning of personalities. Today, there's probably over 200 personality systems that people use to learn about personality types. I prefer the simple and straightforward. That's easier for a busy parent brain to remember. There's types out there that combine many different letters and numbers and all of that. But today we are going to talk about a very simple system that I was trained in, and it's just 4 types. And they use some easy words to remember besides just the ones that date back to the Greek philosophers. But I want you to remember as we talk about this that most people are a combination of 2 personalities. And again, this doesn't put people in a box. This just helps us kind of figure out a starting point. Kind of if you were looking on that mall map, figuring out where you are and where you want to go and what it'll take to get there. So as we discuss this, I want you to mentally picture a 4-square quadrant. And as we discuss these personalities, we're going to move from the top left quadrant to the top right, down to the lower right quadrant, and back to the lower left. So kind of around clockwise in this 4-square quadrant. This is always easier to teach in visual manner, but I'm going to include a link in the program description so that you can get a handout for easy reference. But the 2 quadrants on the top that we're going to discuss first are the extroverts, and the 2 on the bottom are the introverts. So what are the 4 basic personality types that I've mentioned today? Well, the first one is the playful sanguine. And these might be who you would refer to as the noise makers. Now, you're going to know if you have a child like this, they probably make a lot of noise. Next is the powerful choleric, the plan maker. Yes, then the proper melancholic, who we would consider to be the rule maker. And last but not least, the peaceful phlegmatic. And you bet they too would be known as the peacemaker. All right. If you were going to stand outside a 2-way mirror and watch a group of children playing, you could actually make some pretty good assessments of personality. You would be relatively accurate with what you see and how it might relate to their personality style. Now, of course, we wouldn't stop there, though. We would listen and learn more for the most accurate understanding and assessment. But let's put ourselves behind that glass for just a moment and imagine a classroom of children playing. A child at play is probably the most sincere form of expression, since honestly there aren't very many boundaries to their behaviors and what they're doing. So let's talk first about that playful sanguine. What are the visual clues that you might pick up on? Well, imagine this child at play. They're expressive and trying to get others to join in the fun. Picture this little girl using her voice loudly. Her facial responses are expressive and her gestures are animated. She's constantly moving, urging everyone to participate. Now there's a little boy in the group who's excitedly jumping as he awaits the fun to start. His mouth is constantly moving as well. He claps and he fist bumps and he urges others to join in. Across the room sits another little girl. She's setting up 7 dolls around the table. Each of her dolls has a pet friend and they're having a party. She invites others to join in the party. These are things you might notice again in that playful sanguine. What about the powerful choleric? Well, let's shift our focus and pick them out in this classroom. In the classroom scenario, you might see a little boy that's pointing and directing others to the other side of the room where he wants to play ball. He gets frustrated and stomps his foot when people aren't moving. He's starting to talk more and he uses his body to make a firm stand. A girl in this group is equally sure that the group should just stay where they are. She approaches the first boy, stands rather close, looks right in his eyes, puts her hands firmly on her hips, and with a nod of her head and a firm word, the group stays. The boy obviously intends to get someone to the other side of the room, so he may quickly and firmly grab one of those kids that's standing closest, and he takes his ball to play elsewhere. He doesn't skip a beat, and he walks with great confidence like a man on a mission and never turns back. I bet you can imagine that, right? Finally, we have the proper melancholic. What might be their visual clues? Well, imagine two children sitting at a table, focused intently on their coloring project. In another area of the room, seated at a table, are two children just busy doing this coloring, and they've been seated there for quite a while, and they've said very little. They're focused on their pictures and are working hard to keep everything neatly in the lines. The little boy has started 3 different pictures and put 2 of them in the trash because of mistakes. Yes, there was only a small mark that didn't belong, but he doesn't like mistakes, and he would rather start over, do it right with a clean page, because it makes him feel better. So he continues minding his own business and carefully keeping the coloring in the lines. What about the peaceful phlegmatic? Well, picture a little boy quietly sitting in a reading nook, kind of lost in his own little world. He's probably staring off into space a bit, but mostly just quietly observing everyone around him as he's flopped comfortably on the beanbag chair. Over in the basketball game, there's a little girl that just kind of slowly moves about. She's only slightly interested in the game, and honestly, she rarely even touches the ball, but she continues to play, and she gets told by others what to do and where to go. When the other child was visibly upset about the game not going right, she's the one that put her arm around the other and patted him on the shoulder and spoke quietly in his ear. The visual clues of these children may be a little more subtle than the other personalities, so it might make them just a little harder to identify. But we can't stop with just the verbal clues. There's more to understand before we know what a child might be. Next, we're going to talk about verbal clues. But first, I'd like to share this. Are you tired of parenting feeling like a game of who's going to melt down first? Well, let's change the game. With the Parenting with Personality app, you'll know exactly how to approach your child's unique needs and emotional triggers. Say goodbye to stressful standoffs and hello to peaceful, fun-filled days. Parenting doesn't have to be a battle. It can be a joy. Download the Parenting with Personality app on Apple Store or Google Play today to discover strategies and stress-free ways to connect with your child. It's like parenting help in the palm of your hand. Yes, we talked about verbal clues. What might those verbal clues be? Let's talk first about that playful sanguine child again. A playful sanguine child engages others from a very early age. They're usually early talkers. They generally greet each day with excitement and want to be busy with fun all day long. In fact, a lot of times as their eyes pop open, the first thing they want to know is, are we going anywhere? What are we going to do today? They want to know who they get to see, what they're going to do, and will be expressive and dramatic as they put a plan together. And they may even say things like, do you know what my mom did? As you pass your friend in the grocery store and you kind of cringe and prepare to run and hide because you never know what's going to come out of their mouth. This child will tell everything and then some. That's not the end of my story. They might shout at you, or they may bring a whole new meaning to the term TMI, too much information. Because the playful sanguine loves to tell stories, they can have a hard time stopping those stories, and they can often be found in the midst of a big fat lie with hardly any effort at all. Yes, it really did happen. They aren't much for the mundane and will remember the fun times. So prepare to attempt to relive their fun moments over and over, just to make mundane tasks bearable. Can we make this fun like that time when might be things they say. And yes, of course, be prepared for their singing, their chanting, their rhyming, and their constant chatter. They love to talk and carry on conversations. They'll talk with anyone. There's hardly ever a stranger. A powerful choleric child has his communication packaged for great effectiveness at a very early age. They may have been loud and deliberate criers. Early on, they learn to point to help to get the message heard. They never struggle to say no, even when an adult might ask them to do something. They won't think twice before they say, I don't want to, or I don't like that. And when asked questions about their preferences or opinions, they usually don't hesitate to give their brutally honest thoughts. They see little need to get help from others, and working with others oftentimes just frustrates them. So you'll hear them often say, I can do it myself, or I don't need your help. Generally, powerful cholerics like their plan the best. So don't be surprised if other plans are met with, that won't work, or that's a dumb idea. Being direct and to the point may make this child seem impolite and abrasive, but it may just be their form of communication. Not necessarily that we have to let it stay that way, but it might be what comes very natural to them, and we may need to help them learn to grow through that. They may need lots of reminders to use the words please and thank you. This child may appear to speak with one volume, and it's usually loud and proud. A proper melancholic won't give as many verbal clues, but that in itself is a clue. They're private, and they tend to keep their words and thoughts to themselves, sharing oftentimes on a need-to-know basis. Because they think carefully about their words, they often preface things with I think, or I feel like. They like when things work perfectly, and oftentimes they get upset when things don't work out as planned. It doesn't work for them might really mean it's not perfect. And because justice and things being fair is of high importance to them, they will often be the ones that are shouting, "That's not fair." They have a great memory for how things have gone in the past, and they won't usually let you forget that. They'll keep good track of things. Last time because the proper melancholic wants things to turn out perfectly, you may hear a lot of times them asking, "Mom, Dad, can you help me?" And they may ask it a lot. This child may appear moody or upset. But let me tell you, they don't necessarily want to be cheered. Instead, they will probably just say, I want to be alone. I need my space. They may not speak their minds often, but they may desire for you just to know what they need. Oftentimes, when you ask this child what's wrong, they'll respond with nothing. But they may really be wishing that you cared enough to figure it out. And that can be kind of tricky because you can't read their mind. Their voices tend to be quieter, and it can make them appear shy or sometimes even sad or down. A peaceful phlegmatic may be slightly harder to hear as they don't speak up very often. But let me tell you, when they do speak up, it's usually very meaningful. So pay attention. These are typically very observant children, but they'll probably not say much about what they see or think or feel or want unless you ask. Should you ask for an answer, though, you may first hear, I don't know. But don't stop there, because sometimes they just need a little more time to think. They tend to be a bit indecisive, and they don't ever want their answer to cause problems for people or to hurt feelings. So remember, don't stop there. Dig just a little bit deeper and give them some time to think about their response. They may actually have some pretty impressive insights. When you ask them to get something done, their response is usually, I can't, or I don't know how, or I need help. When trying to complete tasks, you just might hear how easily they become overwhelmed. It's too much, or it's too hard when you ask them even to follow some simple requests. The peaceful phlegmatic requires a great amount of downtime and rest. So you may hear them say, I'm tired, quite often. They have no problem asking, can you help me? They are very in tune to those around them, and they care about others' comfort, oftentimes even more than their own. So asking, are you okay? Or what's the matter? Flows easily from them as they observe and care for others. They generally use their calm words and tone to be an agent for peace and reassurance. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about how you can determine your child's personality in just a moment, so stay tuned. Parenting a uniquely wired child can feel isolating, right? While other parents are talking about typical tantrums and bedtime battles, you're navigating emotional meltdowns, sensory overload, or challenging behaviors that many people just don't understand. It can be frustrating when the advice you hear just doesn't fit your child, and even harder when you feel like you're alone in the journey. But here's the truth. You don't have to settle for just surviving. In the Calm Connection Parent Coaching Program, I'll help you understand your child's unique wiring and give you faith-based practical strategies to not only manage the emotions and challenging behaviors, but actually help your whole family thrive. With video course, workbooks, a supportive community, and weekly coaching calls, you'll get personalized support every step of the way. If you're ready to stop feeling alone and start finding real solutions that work for you, your child, and your family, then visit calmconnectionparent.com to learn more. Together, let's move you from surviving to thriving. Let's do this. You might be wondering, well, is there a quiz or something to help me determine my child's personality? Or you may have a strong suspicion of what your child might be, but you're not feeling sure. You might feel a little stumped deciding between a couple. That's normal. So we're going to talk a little more about this. Now, I mentioned the top two personalities, that playful sanguine and the powerful choleric, tend to be the extroverts. Those kiddos are usually more social. They talk freely. They interact pretty easily. And that might be your giveaway for what your child's personality might be if you try to decide between the extrovert versus the introvert. Now, the bottom two, the peaceful phlegmatic and the proper melancholic, as I said, are introverts. Now, that doesn't mean they don't like people or they don't want to be with people, but they typically need time alone or maybe with just one close person to refresh. They need more downtime. Maybe a little more time at home to regroup and refresh. Now that we've outlined these personality types, let's take a moment for you to assess your child. Do you know what your child is? Is your child a playful sanguine, a powerful choleric, a proper melancholic, or a peaceful phlegmatic? If you're not sure, you can go to parentingwithpersonality.com and you can find a fun quiz designed to help you determine your child's personality type. So if you haven't seen that before, I encourage you to take that quick and easy quiz and see what you think of the results. But I also want you to know that there's another resource, and it's the Parenting with Personality app that can help you understand your child's personality. And you heard a little bit about that. So if you haven't downloaded that, go to the Apple Store or Google Play, and you can also find that same quiz on the app, as well as some other information. And there might even be that printout of the quadrant on the Parenting with Personality app. But there's another resource I want to tell you about, and in case you haven't heard of it, it's a book. It's called The Zoo. I co-authored this interactive storybook, which is about 4 monkeys. And you follow 4 monkeys through the course of their day. And as the story unfolds, each monkey makes different decisions related to mealtime, interacting with friends, playing, routine, times of trouble, bedtime, and more. Now, as you read this book with your child gets to choose which monkey is doing what they would do, what they would choose to do. So you keep track of the results, and you get a result in the end of which monkey or personality type your child would be. Now, don't worry, you don't go just on the child's idea of who they are, but there's also a parent observation form, and it gives you another perspective of your child's personality from your adult parent point of view. This book also includes, you're going to want to know about this, a parent personality quiz. Yes, so you can know what you are, as well as loads of tips on understanding your child's strengths, struggles, their emotional needs, and more. There's even some great information in this book on how your personality may or may not mesh with your child's personality and what you can do to better connect. This truly is one of the best ways to form that meaningful connection. I love that quote about how the loudest way you can love your child is to see them, to hear them, and to understand them. Now, if you haven't seen the Yuzu book that we just discussed, I want you to know you can check it out on Amazon, and I'll put a link for that in the show notes or in the show description as well. There is so much more I can't wait to share with you about the personalities. In fact, I had to make this a 2-part video so I could get deeper into the good stuff. So next time, we'll be talking about the strengths, the struggles, and emotional needs of each personality. You won't want to miss out on that. So check back next week when I drop part 2. But as we wrap up today's episode, I want you to remember that understanding your child's personality is not just a simple tool. I like to refer to it as a superpower. Tuning in to your unique traits of your child and understanding your child's personality is your secret key. It helps you unlock their emotions and their behaviors, how they're thinking, how they're feeling, why they're doing what they do, understanding what really makes them tick. You can connect on a whole new level and bring calm to that chaos when you use this tool. But I want you to know the fun and adventure doesn't end here. Like I said, in our next episode, we'll explore the exciting strengths, struggles, and emotional needs of your child's personality type. Trust me, you won't want to miss these exciting insights because they can really make a world of difference in your parenting journey. I want to thank you for joining me today, and don't forget, next week, part 2. Well, that's it for today, but the journey to calm parenting doesn't stop here. If you are nodding in agreement, laughing, or maybe even crying, don't worry, we've all been there. Make sure to share this podcast with a friend who might need it too. Don't forget to connect with us at parentingwithpersonality.com or join our Parenting with Personality Facebook group. I'd love to support you there. And until next time, you've got this. Just keep calm and parent on.